Alright, the next movie we're going to talk about is Star Trek. I don't know him. And while it is a little late, the movie came out several months ago. Since this is technically a spaceship and a space-themed review show, we would feel wrong if we did not at least, bring it up. Now, Star Trek is one of those movies where a bunch of executives get together and they say, hey, you know what? You know that big franchise, that science fiction one that everyone loves? We have hundreds of episodes, books, comics, toys. Let's take that, do some time thing, and nullify all of that useless and start all over again. That's Star Trek. Although that also would not be fair because the final product they came up with is actually really good.
Star Trek is a reboot of the 1967 and 1969 TV series, which consisted of 73 episodes, and some of them were pretty good and some of them were really stupid. The Nazi planet! Come on, give me shit about the Nazi planet. That one's dumb. You can't defend it. Anyway, this one's a reboot of the series where they went into a different timeline because of a big bunch of stuff they made up to go into a different timeline. It involved some Romulans going through some time and messing up Kirk's past and doing... Anyway, it's a reboot of the series in which you get to meet all the characters from the old show, including Captain Kirk, Spock, Dr. McCoy, Uhura, all the rest of them, and see them as they go through the Academy, get onto the Enterprise, and do stuff from there. And there's some bad guys and stuff. It's the starting one. It's mainly about meeting the characters.
Yeah, pretty much. So... would you recommend it then?
Well, to be honest, yeah, I enjoyed it because I like Star Trek. I have phasers because I like Star Trek. And we're on a spaceship, you gotta defend yourself sometimes. So, yeah, I would recommend it. It's a lot of fun. It's good for you if you haven't ever heard or seen Star Trek. It's not as bloated and all about, it doesn't have a whole lot of allegories for other stuff, which is probably actually its one downfall, is that it is an action flick. Whereas the other Star Trek things had a little bit more weight, even when they were lame, they still had some sort of meaning to them. This one was really just, let's blow some shit up. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, Star Trek really was more about the philosophy of human nature than about the special effects, although we would probably be completely lying if we didn't say we didn't like the action, because one of our favorites is Wrath of Khan, which, while still having some, themes about desertation and revenge, was primarily an action film. And that's considered one of the best. I give this 4 stars personally because within the science fiction genre, we don't seem to get a lot these days. And this seemed like they could have gone wrong. So many aspects. They could have miscast this thing. They could have just made it action. They could have made it not feel Star Trek. That was my big concern, actually, was that it was going to be CGI'd up, which nothing against computer graphics. But it really does get to a point these days where it doesn't look real anymore. It looks like a cartoon. Thankfully, they didn't do that.
Yeah, no, I would say that visually it was pretty good on that respect. If you're just looking for a fun movie for action things, definitely. It was, I would say overall I would give it a solid 3.5 stars. I enjoyed the film thoroughly. There were problems I had with the plot because it didn't hold up when you thought about it a whole lot. There was a lot of time travel and dark red matter or something. And it was really just an excuse for all the characters to be there. But in that context, it was a lot of fun. The one thing that the movie did very well was it had all these characters and all these things to balance. And it really just sort of threw them all in there and made it a really good time, even if the plot was kind of fuzzy. So,
yeah, well, actually, I would argue to say that the plot was actually very clear and understanding, maybe a little too understanding for some fans, because Star Trek fans are not used to their Star Trek being so straightforward.
Well, I would say that for what it's used for, yes, but the plot itself involved... you couldn't think about the science of what the hell they were doing. It involved Spock going through time and trying to block a sun from exploding with a black hole that sends people through time and somehow saves a planet when you put a black hole near it and stop the sun. That didn't make any sense, and then the characters go through time, and when you're in the other timeline... The part about it where they switched timelines so they could reboot the series, that part was, that was a little jarring just because it was totally like, hey fans, shut up, different timeline, this isn't the same. And it showed, but the movie itself with the cast and everybody involved made it so fun that I just didn't care.